Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for sticking with us. So you made it through the overview video. So now we're going to start laying the foundations for Omnidek, and we're going to start by doing this by creating users for your Omnidek platform. So setting up users is super simple. Again, this is kind of what my live system looks like. My user, setting up users is effectively giving them access to whatever forms that they're going to be required to fill out. We're going to set up their organizational structure, so where they live in the hierarchy. This is going to dictate who gets routed what. So if they fill out a form, who goes up the channel to review it, as well as if they're an upper manager, which kind of forms get sourced to them for their approval, as well as any insights that we may share with them as well. So to kind of lay the foundation here, underneath the admin screen, the very first tab that you see is the organization tab. And this is related to setting up users because every user lives inside of an organizational structure. Now, if you just are seeing this blank, you'll just kind of see Omnidek and then the administrator and then just the employee bucket. We generally want to just go ahead and assign everybody to an employee bucket. But when we set up the organizational hierarchy in the next videos to come, you're going to kind of see different tips and tricks on how to actually do that to kind of optimize the usability of this, but also to make it super, super easy when we get new employees to assign them to organizations. And by doing so, they kind of inherit all the settings that we set up ahead of time, almost like a template for that particular employee. So if you can appreciate, inside of a particular organization, there's team members. These are users that we assign to them. So generally speaking, whenever you create a user, you're going to do that from the users tab, and then you're going to give them, you're going to kind of put them into a particular bucket. Once it's already set up, it'll be easy. You'll know which ones to assign. But for maintenance keeping, so let's say maybe an employee goes on vacation, you need to move them to a different, like a vacation bucket, so they're not involved in work processes while they're gone. Or if you want to get a new employee and maybe move them to a different division or a different team, you can do that simply by selecting the destination you want to put them, adding a particular user, and this would be the users that we set up here. And then by doing so, you can just add them to this particular group and it moves them away. The user can only reside in one organization. Okay, so this is a little bit different. We have crowds that give you the flexibility to maybe have groups of employees. That's kind of how we handle kind of crossover and whatnot. But as a rule, every user has to reside in some hierarchy. Now, ours actually has a hierarchy build, but we've seen a lot of companies set this up super easy. So like if John has a group of people that he manages and Karen has a people that she manages, you can just call this John's group and Karen's group, right? So you can make it super, super simple on yourself just to kind of visually see it, but you can also set it up kind of as a standard hierarchy as well. So setting up users, you're going to go to the users tab here, and then you'll see every user has their email address and their organization and their relationship already predefined. So to kind of go through it, just a couple of observations. The first of which is that we don't actually have user names inside of our system. The username is actually their email address. And we use this because the network is designed to have a specific single relationship with an individual, right? So let's say, for example, your project manager may be a employee user of Omnidek. However, there may be a guy down the road that buys Omnidek as well, and that PM is invited into his portal. Well, they don't have to worry about setting up different usernames because the users are actually linked together by the email address. So this allows us to kind of do work together. So everybody, if they set up an Omnidek portal, they can kind of have different relationships with different companies that set them up as particular users. So it's a super cool architecture, probably similar to Facebook and LinkedIn, how you have friends or connections in those platforms. It's similar to that as different companies, not just your company. By Omnidek, we kind of give some cohesiveness to the network. That's the business network side of it. So whenever we set up a user, I'll go ahead and kind of show you what mine looks like. We're going to give them a username, which is actually their email address. We're going to assign them to an organization. This is the list of organizations that we just talked about in the hierarchy. They're going to have a relationship as the employee. If you were to terminate them and you wanted to use Omnidek kind of as a HR portal for terminated employees, you could do that. So you could actually assign their relationship to something like a terminated employee if you wanted to. This will control what access they have into the system and what their relationship is with the company. We'll get into that in some of the more advanced setup, but that's just kind of how that looks. You'll want to assign them a license. So these will be the licenses that you have available to you that you've purchased. If you need additional ones, you can contact us at omnidek.com. If you want to purchase more, we can give you some more information on that and some pricing as well. The first, middle, last name, the first and last names are required, and then the city, as well as the display name, that's going to show up over here on the right side. So you actually see your little profile page here. So once you set up a user and you give them, assign them an organization, they're also going to show up in that organization as well here whenever you assign them. And then from there, you can kind of redistribute them. So if you're going to go ahead and set up a bunch of different users, we definitely would encourage you to do that. If you're going to do that, go ahead and put them in the employee tab. And then as we build out this hierarchy, we can simply build out the groups. And then all we have to do is kind of come in here and then like multi-select. Okay, I want to put these 5 people in a particular group that I just created. It's super simple to be able to do that. So setting up users is super, super simple. I definitely encourage you before our meeting, if you want to go ahead and spend some time to set up those users, you can do that. If you have over 50 or so employees and you want, this might be a little time constraint on you, you can send them to us and we can actually import them for you. We just would need kind of the email address, first, middle, last name, that type of stuff, and then we can go ahead and actually import those with you. But generally, rule of thumb, if it's under 50, you can probably do it, knock it out in an hour or so. But if you did want to do it, if you have a little bit more of that and just wanted some help, we can do that for you with our services department. So a couple of little things as far as setting up users. Once you set up a user, obviously, we probably haven't built any forms yet if you're just on the setting up user part of it. When we do, we're going to work on assigning which forms out. That'll kind of get into the security as far as what forms you have access to. To kind of give you a few little things that you can do in the interim. If I said, for example, I didn't want this employee to be able to have access to certain pieces of the actual application, like this is the full menu. Maybe I didn't want them to have the access to the form designer or the admin screen. Then you can actually come in here to user access and come in here and actually restrict by unchecking these boxes as far as which permission. So if these are directly correlated to the lists over here and what they have access to, you can remove these things by changing the permissions. And then we can do this as part of the organization. So like all employees or all people in that particular organization only have certain access. So you can set it at a organization level or at a particular user level. Now, the last little piece, if you are onboarding a user, we'll go ahead and talk about their profile. Over here, if they click their image here, it pops up a little My Profile page. By setting this up, this is where they can insert an image of themselves here. This is my little kiddo. Or they can also update their information, their title, address, and phone number. This is also where they can save a default signature just by clicking here. They can come in here and sign it if they wanted to do that, and that'll save it. So whenever there's a form with a signature, they can just use the default, as well as they can come in here and change their password. So just some real simple little setup tips and tricks there for you. I definitely encourage you to continue exploring kind of how to get this system set up. But this is as easy as it is to go ahead and start setting up the users. And then we're going to move into some more advanced stuff as far as building forms, building workflows here. So continue on with the tutorial, and we look forward to bringing you onto the Omnidek platform. Thanks so much.